of Europe has stayed away from the Gulf crisis, the US, Israel, Iran, etc. war, and there's nothing that Trump's threats with regard to cutting back on NATO, etc., have helped to mitigate. The thing is, it's a double-edged sword. You pull back from Europe, it won't be without consequences. Now it comes to India. The American attitude is, I can push this country around, no problem. We always have, and we intend to keep on doing so, if not to their face, then certainly behind their back. This is not working anymore with India either. And so we are engaging bilaterally without a great deal of expectation. Where it suits us, we will agree. Where it suits America, they will agree. And this is the situation now. That's why very, very graphically, it's a handshake and not a bear hug.
Yeah. Right, totally. Let's take some breaking updates also now. Sergio Gore has spoken ahead of the Trump-Modi meeting at G7 in France, and he said, and I'm quoting, that we're looking forward to that meeting. So, of course, U.S. Ambassador to India, Sergio Gore, saying looking forward to that important meeting. Avantika, even as Trump and Modi meet, the deal that Iran and US have signed cannot be ignored, and many are of the observation that deal has in fact cast a doubt on the US status as a superpower now. Do you think Modi could make use of the current situation, also given that he's taken the opportunity to hold a meeting with leaders of the European Union in this visit to France? He's met with Ursula von der Leyen, Antonio Costa, with Merz, with Macron.
Thank you, Team NewsX, for having me. So, to take on your question, first, the deal which has been done between US and Iran, where Iran is saying that US is financially helping them as well, which US is not agreeing. This might help India as well, considering here the stance of US is weaker. Clearly, US had to come to a back foot. They are the one who started this entire conflict in the West Asia. When nothing came, no conclusion could arrive, so much money was spent, they had to take a back step, especially Strait of Hormuz became the conflicting point here. They had to step back, and now they had to do this too. So especially when Israel is completely not on board with them on this. Now, in this case, US had to go down in some way in front of Iran. So Iran, which was targeted, which has not crippling economy, but which was targeted, the economy was hit, and still they were very firm. Now, how it could help India? Let me tell you how can it help India if possible. First is, let's talk about the trade negotiation between India and the US. Having said that, it's been 16 months that Prime Minister Modi and Donald Trump had their last meeting, and since then a lot has changed between the two nations and between the heading capacity of these two nations. Now let's look at all those points. First is the trade deal. Now the trade deal is lying on the table. Nothing has it hasn't come to a conclusion. Even if they agree to come to some kind of understanding at the G7 summit right now, then also it is not likely to be confirmed at the present moment, because again Supreme Court of US is involved here, and then there could be further negotiation in July on this deal. So that is one thing. Now secondly, let's come to energy security. Now here India and US, they are almost at the same length, standing at the same pace when it comes to energy security. Both of them want energy security. India can leverage from opening of the Strait of Hormuz, which it should. At the same time, US will also leverage from opening of the Strait of Hormuz, and also rest of the world. So that's the second point. Now let's talk about the third point. If the trade deal gets to be done, or not to be done, that could impact the edge 1 week visa, which could further impact the employment of the Indians who are there in US or planning to go to US. So that also needs to be kept into consideration. And then we talk about the Strait of Hormuz incident where 3 sailors were targeted. Now here, if we look from fair lenses, US has not even taken that into consideration. 3 Indian sailors were killed for no fault of their own. They were sailing, they were doing their commercial activity. Now, this is something which needs to be considered at the G7 level, at the G7 summit. The other countries, other nations, they also need to understand this is not uh, right. This should be spoken about, this should be talked about. And also, when we talk about technology, now here I'm talking about the points where they could leverage, also the conflicting points. So now they can definitely leverage when it comes to technology, with India having a strong IT sector and also US having its strong AI. And last not the least, let's talk about Operation Sindoor, where India, where US and especially President Donald Trump take full onus of announcing the ceasefire, whereas New Delhi never confirmed it. They always said that that did not happen. So if we take into consideration all these points, it could help, it could not help. We are yet to see what will come out of this, but these are the main points which would set tone for this entire discussion, which is right now happening.
All right, viewers, in fact, Donald Trump has made a comments at the working lunch on G7 sidelines, and Trump said, very interesting, he said, unlike Prime Minister Modi, who's calm, cool, and a total killer, I am not. Look at him. That's what Trump said. That's the comment he made. Modi is calm, he's a killer, but I am not. Clearly, Trump, who's just celebrated his 80th birthday, and Prime Minister Modi, on the other hand, who's served as the Prime Minister of India for the longest time, as a consecutively serving elected Prime Minister for 12 years. Both of these leaders have seen personal milestones in their journey, yet when we've known Prime Minister Modi to be campaigning for Trump and Trump for Modi, there was no handshake, there was no bear hug, pardon me, only a handshake, of course, raising doubts. Ambassador Fabia, is this change in personal chemistry of any importance at this time as far as the country's relationships are concerned, or is it now reduced to only a transactional relationship?
Interesting question. Now, in the Trumpian world, personal chemistry has become very, very important. And let me also tell you something else which is happening with India also. You see, diplomats conclude so many agreements. But for the announcement, you have to wait for a visit by the Prime Minister. And we signed so many agreements. How many? 19 with France, if I get it right. So, there is a certain, what shall I say, dilution of diplomacy, which I knew when I was in service. Of course, I left in 2000. And just one point about the sailors, who were killed. It is my view that when the BRICS Foreign Ministers Conference took place, India should have taken the initiative to send a BRICS humanitarian mission to the Gulf of Hormuz, because those ships, how many of them? Thousands of them, were stranded there for so long. They would have been short of medicine, they would have been short of food, and India should have sent a mission with medicines, food, and doctors and nurses. And India should have asked, as BRICS head, both Iran and the United States, please make sure that this mission is not attacked. And I am sure that they would have found it very difficult to say no. Even now, this is my final point, out of every 6 sailors, one is an Indian. About 360,000 sailors from India. Out of them, 50% are active at any time. So India should work on it. Evian should appoint a commission to study what are the existing laws, what are the existing practices, and what more can be done, because lives do matter.
Absolutely. Ambassador, thank you very much for joining us and giving us your time in this discussion. We have some more breaking news updates coming in. US Ambassador Sergio Gore to be part of PM Modi, US President Donald Trump bilateral. So Sergio Gore is going to be joining that meeting between the two leaders. Of course, we've also seen External Affairs Minister S. Shankar has accompanied the Prime Minister to G7. Ambassador Gauri Shankar Gupta is joining us. Ambassador, do you think Sergio Gore's involvement is going to have some influence on how Trump makes his decision?
Kriti, good evening. Yes, of course. Sergio Gore has a very positive view of India. Ever since he assumed charge in India, he has played a very positive role in many issues. He has been, impressed by the progress India has made, and he knows the importance of India in the coming decades. And therefore, he will play a very critical role. The most important part right now is to conclude the trade deal which has already been negotiated substantially. There are a few issues which remain pending, and those issues should be sorted out as quickly as possible. In addition, there has been some sort of, I would say, agitation or some sort of, constraint in our relationship in the last 15 months, particularly after Operation Sindoor, when President Trump and his team used some sort of, negative language in describing relations between India and US, and also imposed an additional duty of 25% on import from for Russian oils. Now that was a very negative side, and those negative points have to be somehow overcome. There is obviously this agitation was also seen on the part of our Prime Minister when he in fact did not hug President Trump as he used to do in the past. Obviously it was natural because the kind of language which was used against India and against him was not desirable, and those things will have to be now overcome in the overall interest of the relations between our two countries. And I'm sure that Prime Minister Modi will try his best during the meeting which is presently going on, so that all these hurdles are overtaken and relations are back on trail. In addition, we also have to clarify the energy security issue, because the deadline set for import of Russian oil expires today, and therefore we have to be very clear that we should be able to import Russian oil without additional duty from US. That is one important point which I am sure Prime Minister would like to raise. In addition, we should be able to import oil from Iran once the sanctions are lifted, so that would open up a new source of oil, because we used to import a lot of oil from Iran. Earlier, our trade was almost 11 to 12 billion dollars before the sanctions were imposed. So we would be able to benefit from that source as well. So energy security remains an important issue. Trade deal is another important issue. Indo-Pacific, the Quad meeting, which is supposed to take place this year in India, is another issue which when Mr. Rubio was in India, he confirmed the importance of Quad, and obviously this will be raised by the Prime Minister, and he would like to invite President Trump to come and participate in the head of state level Quad meeting, which is supposed to be held in India this year. So these are some of the important issues which will be raised. So far as the Iran issue is concerned, I think once it is resolved, once the MOU is signed, hopefully the sanctions will be lifted, and the Strait of Hormuz will be open to the international traffic. I think the situation which existed 4 months ago should come back. It is an international water. No country has right to levy any kind of charges on or toll tax on that ships passing in that. I think that would be very unfortunate if Iran or any other country does so, because that would set a very wrong precedence, and it would be against the international law as well. So these issues, I think, will come up, and I'm sure our Prime Minister will try to see that India and US, resume their dialogue and return back to the position where they were approximately 15 months ago. Over to you, Preeti.
Right, Mr. Mukherjee, I want to come back to you once. How do you think this meeting might impact ongoing issues like H-1B visa, especially at a time when the federal court in the US has struck down Trump's $100,000 fee as illegal? Do you think there's going to be some progress in that direction, and also, of course, on the US tariffs on key sectors like IT, pharmaceuticals, steel?
I'm not holding my breath on all this because Trump's attitude is if the courts track down one methodology he has employed, he comes by the back door by using some other methodology. The point that the general made earlier is that America is broke and is not willing to do the work it takes to bring their economy back to good health. Instead, it is more of a rapacious attitude to smash and grab wherever they can. This is what the revival of the Monroe Doctrine is. In India, it's also, a question of looking at it narrowly from the American prism, but it is likely to do more damage to the American economy, particularly the technical side, if they make it more and more difficult for Indians to go there or stay there. Many of our Indians are seriously considering throwing in the towel and leaving America in any case. So these are not trends that show that Trump's bullying is working. In fact, it is working against the United States. His view is too narrow. His attitude of trying to get an unequal treaty in all matters is harming the cause of the United States and the whole world. It's not just India. We've all come to the question of pleading and begging and negotiating to get softer terms from America. I think that ship has sailed. We're not interested. You want to keep us out, we'll find another way. You want to make it difficult for us to stay there, we will leave. The world is changing. He hasn't changed in the right manner. He thinks by pushing countries around, he's going to get a better deal for the United States. This has summarily failed in country after country, including India. There are a few, like our neighbors, Pakistan, who may succumb because of their tremendous weaknesses to American bullying and flattery. India is not amongst them. It's not going to happen.
Right. General Sudhakar, I want to come to you now, and I've been waiting to come to you for the right question because you addressed so many crucial points in your previous statement. And I want to, in fact, flip it around what you said to you back. Do you think US can actually afford ignorant countries like India and China, the countries from where most of the demand comes for the products that US wants to export? Also into account how Shashi Tharoor has called the US decision to rename Indo-Pacific Forum without Indo in the language, reversing that 8-year-old decision and saying if it is the final nail in the coffin for Quad at time, and already concerns were being raised about the relevance of the quadrilateral organization.
I hope I'm audible. My audio was off. Anyway, are you able to listen to me?
Yes, please go ahead.
Thank you. No issue. No issue. I thought you had forgotten that I was present in the
I
panel.
can see you on my screen. Yes.
No point. You see, but there are a couple of issues which I wish to highlight as an independent citizen of India. That India is a country with a population. I'm stating it's diplomatic, although stating the facts. It's a country with population of 1.45 billion, and every human being, or more than that, it's around 1.46 billion. Every human being who's alive today on the soil of India, he has got some sentiments, he has got some emotions. The sentiments and emotions of India as a civilization has given us the rightful deserving entitlement of being the voice of the voiceless. So far, we have been airing the voice of the voiceless, and we have been pioneers, the frontline leaders. I don't see strategic silence ever will give us a place of pride in times ahead. Therefore, we need to take a big look and need to remain alive to the issue. Remain alive to the issue that whatever America is doing, it is doing for its national interest. It's spoiling back. These are all symptoms of withdrawal symptoms because it is in a thick soup. So allow me to highlight very quick points, couple of points. First and foremost, this 39 or 40 days of conflict in the West Asia has highlighted or demonstrated a couple of issues showing America in a very extremely poor light and in a weak status. Number one, it has demonstrated the limits of power of the United States of America as a superpower. Number two, it no longer has the monopoly on technology, equipment, and information. Number three, is emerging and it can provide alternate technology, advanced weapon systems, satellite-based navigation systems, artificial intelligence-enabled platform, banking channels, shipping lanes, and dual-use items, and then there are most of the 55, 60 items I can go on and on. And most importantly, I would say this 40 days of conflict in West Asia, it makes the end of Western hegemony. These have to be kept in the mind. And once you keep them in the back of your mind, begin to understand why America is doing what it is doing. It is doing simply to restore status quo ante of supremacy and authority, being a superpower. I call it by any name, declaring power or whatever you call it, and often we couch it under the heading of the Thucydides doctrine. Thucydides doctrine says that no superpower would ever like to lose its supremacy and authority, and it will never allow any rising power to come up to its footing. So therefore, only China to USA, India is to China, and India also futuristically is to USA. It will never allow the state, the rapid rate at which India is growing. It is giving tremors to the American people who are in the planning and also in the implementation cells. So actually they are having sleepless nights, nightmarish experience. The speed at which India is growing, maybe will be outdoing, and the experts in IMF and World Bank have gone to the extent of bringing out one issue that no matter what you do, by 2038, India would have overtaken USA in the PPP, purchasing power parity terms. 2038, not once, more than thrice this has been given, disclosed by very important officials, including one of the Indians who is the executive director there.
Yeah.
So you got to keep in mind also, if MAGA is important, if America First is important, then what is it indicative of? It is indicative of one very important thing, that the house in America is burning. It needs to introspect and recoil back to its domestic homeland and take care of it and take care of the Americas. If it doesn't, then the speed at which the expanding footprint of Russia and China is actually enlarging, this may get hastened up and it may be too late for America to take preventive measure. So all this drama that is going on, rhetoric is going on, is quite reflective in the document called a National Security Strategy 2025, which I suppose was published in November last week or December first week.
Yeah.
It is clearly indicative. If you pick up last 20 years of National Security Strategy of USA, you will find China as adversary number one. This is for the first time they have gone absolutely, I would say, diplomatic or silent on China, as if a green leaf is being shown to them. And also, an indication to the effect had been made that you do whatever you wish like as far as Taiwan is concerned, but for God's sake, do not dare cross Atlantic and do not infringe or challenge my domain or my dominance on the Americas, which I appreciate what Gautam has said, that the Americas are very important. Monroe Doctrine has been put under the name of Monroe Doctrine, and whether they will be able to achieve that much or not, it's a very powerful thing. But the biggest challenge of the entire component, human resource component today, is being posed by the Indians. That's why they're petrified. They're doing anything and everything. All the countermeasures that they have adopted, whether it is H-1B visa or charging $100,000, or it is anything else, or the green card, or any other visitors coming to USA, or technology point of view, to transfer of technology, talk about the G, that aerospace engine, which is already delayed by 2 years, or name anything. USA is not going to support India. We have to be alive to the reality and be prepared, and how best can we rejuvenate the very concept of Make in India without America, because America, it's about time that India asserts on one issue, that let's not be treated like laundromat or a hellhole or a, what do you call, destroyed economy or whatever he says. India needs to change its doctrine of the foreign policy, in my opinion. It is not a soldier, it is a citizen of India who's talking. And I put my hand on my heart and I speak out that the doctrine of Indian foreign policy must be driven by not only strategic autonomy, but it should also have a caveat of reciprocity. If America doesn't behave, you give it back to America nice and properly. In 2019, if they imposed tariff on us, we had gone back to them with counter tariff. What is stopping India in playing the same game? And last but not the least, let me also give you, since I have got some insider information, the trade deal is not going to fructify, not going to come to any final status until the permission or USA is allowed to come into a dairy market, until USA is allowed to sell its corn, its soybean, and there is some fourth thing that I'm missing out. There are four important things they want to come into India. Will Narendra Modi ever or India compromise the requirement and the livelihood of Indian farmers? Nobody would do it. So what is important to MAGA is not important to MEGA. MEGA will go by what is driven by our national interest. Back to you,
Right,
please.
right. That term needs to be heard more in the discussions, Mika. But thank you very much, all gentlemen, and Avantika for joining in this very insightful discussion. It was great to speak with you all. And as I close that discussion, was moving ahead to some breaking news updates coming in from New Delhi. Delhi High Court is hearing the plea that's filed by Telegram against NTA ban. This is in connection to the NEET retest. The Solicitor General has said the government shared specific user IDs and instances with Telegram, asking it to fix the issues. Despite repeated warnings and examples provided by authorities, Telegram failed to correct its system, and every channel continues to circulate claims that exam questions can be obtained in exchange for money, and such activity is ongoing continuously in India. Alright, so those are the details that are coming in, viewers. Let's once again remind you how Telegram is being used time and again for leaks, the Telegram channels used for doing various kinds of scams which uses the civilians. Some of really grounded the telecom on the very ground founder have in filings, especially basis. So things are not being flagged and in the authorities also taken up how several illegal activities are getting Telegram as a platform to be invited. Telegram for blocking audio shows quickly on application of mine. Telegram has an attack on your information share authorities and proactively block channels and accounts. Telegram argues law permits the blocking of specific content on the platform. Once again, website India prerogative wants to allow Telegram to operate in the world or with banning the applications for just for a few days ahead of the retest. How is Telegram founder able to make up these claims and is the AI going to explain it?